Hey everyone, today's episode of the 404 Show is brought to you by Squarespace. Squarespace is the easiest way to create beautiful websites, blogs, or online stores for you and your ideas. Squarespace features an elegant interface, beautiful templates, and an incredible 24/7 customer support service. To try Squarespace, head over to squarespace.com and enter our exclusive code CNET at checkout to get 10% off. Squarespace. Build it beautiful. Hello and welcome once again to another fantastic, I'm calling it at the beginning, fantastic episode of the 404 Show on this Friday, August 21st.
It's Friday, August 21st.
It is currently Friday. You are listening to our show. No, we're just joshing with you. We're recording this on Wednesday because we got some junk going on.
What if calamity strikes in the next day or so?
Well, we're going to sound like a bunch of putzes because we had it wrong.
We didn't call it.
But guess what? That's how real life works. Mr. Russ Frushtick,
Hello
how are you?
there, Jeffrey.
How you doing?
I'm lovely.
Lovely?
Yes. Let me ask you something, Jeff. Are you aware of how much I love the band Third Eye Blind? Did you know?
Didn't think you were going to start things off like that, but go on. I'm intrigued. 18-year-old Jeff has his ears perked up.
Because I feel like 18-year-old Jeff was a little harder, too hard even, for Third Eye Blind.
I was. I thought all those guys were pussies.
And yet, it turns out that they are the timeless band and you're Hoopa Stanks and whatever you listen to.
First of all, I never listened to Hooba Stank. It was a B.
Hoopa.
It wasn't a P. Anyway, what point are you trying to make here,
so I was
caveman?
I was at a wedding this weekend, and at one point, the bride and groom clearly, you know how when you hire a band, they've got like their standard set, and then you could maybe have them learn a song or two to like add that are like your special songs. One of the special songs that the bride and groom requested was Semi-Charm Kind of Life.
How do they not know that already?
That is surprising, but I don't think I've ever heard it at a wedding. Have you ever heard that song at a wedding? And as a matter of fact, I'm sure you haven't, because this occurred to me while I was dancing and singing aloud to it on the dance floor, moderately intoxicated. There was a small 4-year-old boy running around my feet as I'm singing at the top of my lungs about crystal meth and panties coming down. It's a very intense, dark song.
It is, but it juxtaposed against an overwhelmingly cheerful beat and presentation.
That harmony, man.
Doot, 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 doot.
It's really uplifting, and I love the song, and I still love the song.
It's all right.
Might not be super appropriate for a wedding-going audience. The kid didn't seem to mind, I should say.
Obviously, a little kid's not... I didn't understand. I was 18 when that song came out. I didn't understand what the hell it was
You weren't
about.
up on meth yet?
Not yet. I mean, eventually. But I wasn't fluent in...
The words do go by very quickly, so it's possible a lot of people didn't notice. But yeah,
I don't think anyone did. I think only people noticed because back then, that's when like CD booklets had the lyrics, and someone read them and was like, "Oh, wait a minute, this is messed up.
Maybe this should not be on the radio."
Yeah, maybe this pro-drug agenda song should not be on Z100. That's pretty funny.
I love that song.
I want to, before we jump into the show, I want to take just a moment, if we could please.
Okay.
And I wanted to be able to take a moment just to say how much it means to us when you, the listening audience of our fine program, when you make that extra effort and you spread the love about our fantastic show.
I 100% agree, Jeff. You've made a very good point that I second. And third, even.
Right.
Doing stuff like writing reviews on iTunes.
Huge.
Subscribing to the show on iTunes or your preferred podcasting delivery mechanism.
It's pretty major.
All that stuff is actually super, super helpful to us. So if you dig what we've been doing last few weeks, and you haven't done that stuff yet, show the love. Tell your friends to listen to the show. It's pretty great, if I do say so myself.
Are you the type of person that... And I'm not talking to you.
Okay.
I'm talking to the person that
the listening audience.
The person
got it.
to
the royal
which
you. Got it.
We're in your ears.
Yes.
Are you the type of person that runs out of things to talk about?
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to vocalize.
I can't help it. I must respond. No, but seriously, a lot of people like to listen to our show in the car. So if you take a long road trip, and I know that's like a very specific situation, but that's when I listen to most of my podcasts.
Can I make a request for everyone that listens in the car?
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Whenever you hear something that's funny, if you could honk the horn repeatedly.
Regardless of what kind of traffic situation.
Does not matter.
Yeah.
You could be in your parking lot. It's fine. I think that's the only way to show the true love for the 404.
And then you'll know when other listeners are around you.
Anytime you hear honking.
That's it. Oh, they must be a 404 listener as well.
And you could share that nod across through the windshield.
And even after the policeman pulls you over.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be like, why are we honking back there? And then you guys will have something in common.
Because cops don't have horns, they have sirens, so they show their love by hitting the sirens.
All right, we are not responsible for any of these shenanigans, but nevertheless, do us a favor and spread the love. Tell your friends. It means so much to us, and we thank each and every one of you for tuning in every week, getting involved on the subreddit and whatnot. Again, the biggest thing you can do, even if you want to have the most minimal interaction whatsoever, the best thing you can do is tell one of your friends and or review us on iTunes.
Yes.
There you have it. All right. Moving into the stories of the week. If you own an iPhone.
I do. Are you talking about you, royal you still?
No, it's everyone now.
Okay.
It's you, me, and the listener.
Okay.
If you own an iPhone, you may be surprised to learn that the way you interact with it could, big could here, could potentially change forever with the introduction of Force Touch feedback. That's probably, we stress the word probably, going to be included in the iPhone 6S and whatever the hell they're going to call the new iPad that's going to come out next month.
iPad
or October.
Super.
So wait, I think it's iPad Air 2, I guess.
No.
No?
No, because it's bigger than the iPad Air. The iPad Air is the normal size big iPad. There's the mini.
Right.
There's the iPad Air, which is like the traditional iPad.
Right.
And then there's the Super iPad.
Oh, you're talking about a bigger iPad.
The bigger iPad, which has been rumored. I don't think it's going to be announced yet, but that's there's the other rumored iPad.
There's a lot of rumors. There's rumors that Apple's not even going to upgrade the iPad Air this year, which I don't think they need to.
Yeah. I've also heard that they're going to kill the mini as a line. Have you heard that?
I have not heard that. Okay. I think the Mini does well. I think
love
there are a lot of applications where the Mini makes a lot of sense, where the regular size iPad does not. Regardless, whatever these new items are, it sounds like Force Touch is going to be involved in their functionality.
That's pretty cool.
So you use Force Touch?
I don't, because I think right now, correct me if I'm wrong, it's on the new MacBook Pro.
Right.
And I think it's on that. Is it on
it's
that new?
On the Watch.
It's on the Watch.
Yeah.
And I think it's on that new tiny MacBook. Am I wrong about that?
It's on the new Retina MacBooks, the Pro and the 12-inch.
Okay.
They have Force Touch enabled trackpads.
Right.
If you don't know what the hell Force Touch is, it's a technology that combines like a pressure sensitive display or a trackpad.
Sure.
And it uses haptic feedback underneath.
Yeah. So there's like essentially a vibrator underneath the screen.
Right.
That when you click down on something or interact with something, it sends an indication back to you so you feel it in your finger.
Right. So there's that sort of interactivity where you know, the same, not that dissimilar to the force feedback you get in a game controller.
Yes.
So, you know, it's vibration based on visual cues, and a lot of it is and that rumble stuff depends on how hard you're pushing something or how long you're pushing something.
Yes.
And that essentially opens up the range of functionality to X amount of possible, you know, outcomes, and you can control things more elaborately and get involved in, like, I don't know, if you're using a paint program.
Sure.
And you push down way harder, the brush size is bigger than it would be if you tapped lighter. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's
interesting because
that was a very skeptical.
No, because I feel like the Force Touch stuff, the obvious part of it is that, like, haptic feedback, like making you feel the click underneath your finger. But that's true. The touch sensitivity is another big part of it that you really don't get with like a normal iPhone screen or whatever.
Totally. I'm gonna be surprised how that I mean, the iPhone could obviously do it. I don't know if do iPads vibrate?
Yeah.
I don't know if they do, man.
I don't know.
Like what? I don't.
I
think
mean, a
it
new one
should.
could.
Yeah,
Like,
it could.
Sure.
I'm gonna say they don't. My iPad Air 2, which I believe is the newest one,
Yeah.
I do not believe it vibrates.
Yeah, it's weird though because you think like when you're tapping these things, it's not clicking in. Like there's no movement at all.
Right.
But it replicates movement by like tapping back. It's like you're looking into a mirror
pokes back at you,
and there's an evil version of you in that mirror and it let you reach out.
Yeah.
And then you realize you're on mushrooms and you should just chill for a second.
That's the exact situation. That's exactly what happened. But this is weird. I mean, for me, and I guess the big takeaway is like, all right, well, if this is going to be the next selling point for the new Apple stuff, I'm not.
It's cool, but I don't know that it's going to move hardware, which is normal because it's an off year for them. It's
right.
It's not a 7. It's not going to be the 7. It's going to be a success. And usually I think people that are not like super techie but like a consistent phone should get the phone this year because this is the year that like they solidify all the like nitty gritty aspects with the current design, and they might not try a ton of new things, but you're going to get a very consistent phone. Whereas usually, the year that a wholly new design comes out, presumably next year, there's more potential for like some issues, like that antenna gate thing that happened.
There, the in between years, I like to call them, are basically refinement years.
Yes,
where it's usually something under the hood. Maybe a few design tweaks here and there, but mostly you're getting what the original number upgrade was.
Yeah.
With a couple more bells and whistles.
Yeah, I'm not over the moon excited. I think it's cool tech. I'm not going to buy a new phone just because some evil little person is in there clicking back at me.
You're a crazy person. I don't know. Yeah, just some like gnome inside.
Yeah,
it's
a little gnome.
A magic gnome.
David the gnome is in there with his little cone hood, pissed that I like punched a fox in the face.
It is, yeah. For me, like, I won't lie. I've used Force Touch. To me, in my opinion, it is the most gimmicky of Apple, like, innovations in a while. It feels very gimmicky.
Sure.
I get it. There are like other uses for it, and it is productive in some applications, but for me, it's a little gimmicky and hokey in a way.
Yeah.
But that's what we know so far. Obviously, you're gonna want to file CNET for the latest on the next iPhone. I think right now we're thinking like very early September they'll probably have their Moscone Center thing out west, and we'll have much more when that comes. I don't want to spend that much time talking about Apple. I'd much rather talk about, oh my God, is it terrible to work at Amazon?
Did you read this article?
I didn't.
Okay, so
I'm familiar with the story.
You're familiar with the story. So the New York Times wrote this really good piece, essentially interviewing, I think, 100 current and former Amazon employees. And
so, like, first off, I want to know what's the breakdown.
What's the ratio?
Yeah.
The impression that I got from the article is that Amazon allowed a few select, so I'm going to guess maybe 5 to 10, few select senior employees to talk to the New York Times. So they're obviously very trained and prepared for the sorts of questions.
Sure.
The upshot of it, and you should definitely read the article. It's long, but some really good stuff in there.
It's so long.
Is that essentially Amazon is a very competitive place to work. And in a lot of ways, that has manifested in some pretty callous attitudes towards some employees, like the woman who had a miscarriage and then was basically chastised for not showing up to a meeting the next day.
It's pretty terrible.
And there's like numerous instances of people complaining about. There's actually a story about they do these annual talk back to Jeff Bezos things with all the staff. And frequently employees would say, the work-life balance is not great here. And he'd say something along the lines of, well, it's not like work-life balance, it's work-life harmony, which is really kind of BS. The inside quote is that it's more like work comes first, life comes second, and finding a balance is really not a priority.
It's messed up.
Yeah, it's really pretty harsh. So the story comes out. It doesn't really shock a lot of people that are in the tech space that like have certainly heard a lot of these stories, that it's a very intense, hardcore place to work. As a matter of fact, former Amazon employees are trained to be so intense, like employees that have been there for 5 years, that when they leave, some people refer to them as am-holes.
Oh, because they've just been conditioned.
They're conditioned to like challenge you in meetings and all that stuff. Which, I mean, you know, the lovey-dovey like stuff is not very helpful for like a growing business, but there is a level of diplomacy that's sort of required in most businesses that maybe Amazon might be ignoring. Jeff Bezos, for what it's worth, came out the next day with a memo to all of the staffers, but obviously this got out very quickly, denying a lot of the things that were said, saying, I don't recognize the company that's discussed in the New York Times article. If I worked at that company, I would quit,
right?
Which is pretty interesting. But I think the really interesting thing is I read this article saying that the CEO is usually the last to know this stuff is going on. Because essentially, if you make a culture that's intense and competitive and like this, it's not going to reach the upper echelons that like, oh, this, you know, mid-level manager had to come in after having a miscarriage.
And I feel like a lot of companies that have this sort of culture, the sort of like work conditions that they created have this built-in thing where it's like, oh, part of this master plan is not upsetting the CEO. And like keeping him happy, he or she happy, and leaving it at that. Right. Which makes sense.
They even have a system at Amazon where you can review your compatriots, your fellow employees, through the phone.
Oh, really?
Anonymously.
Just the way they can.
So you can basically
review a product.
Yeah. So you can basically give them a gold star. You did great. I loved you in this meeting. This is a great idea. Or you could like say, this person's coming in late. This person is blah, blah, blah. So that person's manager will get that review, know who sent the review, but it's the obviously the person who is being reviewed has no idea.
So are you saying Amazon is treating all of its employees like competing
products? Exactly. Even worse, people are making vote groups where they'll essentially say like, it's like Survivor, where they'll say like, hey, I'll upvote you, you upvote me, and it's just a ring of people.
How could they not understand that that's what would evolve out of that?
It is crazy to me, but of course that seems like an obvious outcome, is that people are just going to abuse the system. I have a few friends that work at Amazon. I've not really spoken to them a ton since they started working there. I don't know if that's because they're very busy or...
Well, because they're not allowed to talk to anyone.
Right. Understood. They've been replaced by drone brains, perhaps.
So
it's horrifying, though. It's really scary. And I love Amazon as like a product. Like,
of course.
I love that site. It really is an amazing site.
But what does our friend Louis C.K. say?
What's that?
Nothing great can come without suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
True.
And it really is true.
Yeah.
I mean, on these grand sweeping, ideas, yeah, it is kind of true.
Sure.
Like someone somewhere, think about what Amazon does.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, think about that intricate network. I can order something right now and have it in 2 hours.
Yep. In New York City. Yeah.
In New York City.
Less than that. Some people
I can have it in an hour.
It's crazy.
Okay.
And what that requires.
And how many freaking human beings need to be jacked in tirelessly. I mean, think about even okay, put it this way, like even on a bigger level where it's outside of Manhattan, where they're starting to do like the 1 day stuff.
Yeah.
Where you order something by like 2 p.m. and you'll get it by 9, and that's like in your freaking house.
Yeah. There's
like cars and vans and shit that get involved in that. It's not just like a guy on a bike coming in and saying, So think about that. Like they are achieving what feels like superhuman sort of ideas.
Right.
But
they've got humans behind it. There's there's this story about in Philadelphia where during a particularly busy season, there was a warehouse that the AC, I guess, shut off, or they didn't have AC or something like that. And they had ambulances parked outside of the warehouse. And whenever anyone would drop, they would take them to the ambulance, drive away, and keep working. They were so ready for people to just like pass out from the heat. There was an investigation.
That is
AC was installed, but
it
took that for someone to realize, hey, this is worrying. So it's a very intense company, and that's the thing. It's like, can you give up your I got my toothbrush in an hour, you know?
Well, that's the thing, right? Because there is this facelessness to Amazon where it does feel like it's just a bunch of...
Ironic, because the logo is a happy face.
Right. Where it does feel like it's just a bunch of like really smart robots like going in a warehouse and picking all this stuff out. I don't know how they do it. And now it seems, our ignorance is like catching up with us where it's like, well, you know what? Like maybe like they are creating a really hellish work environment for actual human beings.
How many people had to die to make Fun Dip? That's my question. It's Joy. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
You have the multiple packets. You have the edible stick. So many people had to die for that.
So like, so what's the fallout? Like, what are the different ways, we can look at this and say, oh, how does Amazon move on from this?
Sure.
Like, and everyone who's listening to this is like, well, shit, I don't want to lose Prime. Like, I hope,
right.
Like, I don't want anyone to die,
right.
But I, of course, don't want to lose Prime either.
And then anyone that's holding stock is like, I don't want to lose my stock value.
Sure. I mean, this is a major story, and it's just so funny how, like, hindsight's 2020. You're like, of course someone has it terrible there. Right. They're too good to be, all cheerful. And
it's especially funny because you consider that most of the products that are being mailed through Amazon are made by people that have it way more terrible than them.
It's true. It's true.
So,
I hate to laugh it off, but like it's
shit
true.
Rolls downhill, man.
So what's the takeaway?
I mean, I think there probably has to be new corporate structure that like prevents this stuff from happening. I know Comcast obviously ran into a lot of heat like about 6 months ago with their calling systems, and they were getting a lot of heat for how callers were being treated with their customer service. And the CEO stepped in and was like, clearly there's something wrong here. And, I haven't heard a ton of those Comcast stories since. So it's possible that, they just need to strategically take a shift, and they might be more gun shy about making people work weekends. Honestly, I believe, look, working weekends has to happen every once in a while. But if you're working, 80 hours a week, your productivity plummets after probably 45, 60, 50, 60.
There's a diminishing return.
Definitely. So like, look, ease off, guys. I can wait an extra hour to get my, Littlefoot
you
DVD.
Speak for yourself, goddammit, okay? Because my whole thing is like, all right, well, so then Jeff Bezos comes out. Do we take anything he says to heart? Like, do we believe this guy?
I mean, I believe the line that like, if he worked at the company where they were doing that stuff, he would quit. And I believe all of that stuff, but I also believe that everything that was said in the article was true. So I really think that he's just very siloed off from the rest of the company.
We're sort of getting the summary of this New York Times article, this expose they did on the Amazonian work conditions from Vox. And Vox kind of breaks down a lot of the examples and Bezos's response and whatnot. And to me, it's like, all right, whenever anything happens with Amazon, or like whenever they seem to hit a hurdle, some sort of like roadblock, they, within a very short amount of time, jump over it and then jump over like 19 others in the same leap. So I feel like that has to be at the human expense of someone.
Yeah.
Like their innovation... Right. And again, this is all like hindsight, but their innovation just seems to be this amazing superhuman powerhouse. I don't know. Like, look, we give Apple a free pass for Foxconn. Like, we just do.
Yep.
So I'm not saying they don't deserve it, and I'm not saying Amazon deserves it. But like, where are our priorities here?
It was a little funny that like the day after this story came out, Amazon announced that they were paying Jeremy Clarkson, the host of Top Gear, who punched his producer in the face, $250 million for a new development deal.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny.
It's
pretty funny timing. God bless supporting the workers, guys.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I don't know. I really, it's tough to understand the fallout because of Bezos's response and like the sort of impasse that's created, right?
Yeah.
Amazon, what's your deal? Let's see a way through it. All right, before we hit the break, Ashley Madison back in the news because that big old dump of passwords and user data, all 10 gigabytes of it, that was threatened to be posted or sort of ransomed, if you will, was actually, it was dumped on an Onion address accessible through Tor.
Yep.
Which is, basically access to the dark web, the deep web.
Yeah, they released this because they basically threatened, hey, shut it down or else, and this is the or else. It is, it's not, you can't go into Google and type whatever, a name, and expect to see subscribers to Ashley Madison come up. Have we mentioned what Ashley Madison is? Do we want to remind
I think most people know that Ashley Madison is a website that encourages you to find a person to have an affair with.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
So
it provides that connection service.
So obviously, with that comes, your address and credit card information, stuff like that, and a lot of this stuff was leaked. And so for people that really want to search this stuff out, you can find it. At top of the list, as it happens, was an account name called Jeff B. Hockey Fan New Jersey, which I thought was really interesting.
I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about.
I did find it funny, though, when you think about this site. They actually were sued. Ashley Madison was sued recently because it was uncovered that the vast majority of the female profiles on the site were fake, just as a way to encourage guys to sign up. So all of these guys that got caught were really probably did not have an affair, but were certainly actively looking for one.
But they went far enough.
Yeah. Here's one person. His profile said, "I love it when I'm called and I'm told I have 15 minutes to get somewhere, or I'll be greeted at the door with a surprise. Maybe lingerie, nakedness. I like to ravish and be ravished. I like lots of foreplay and stamina, fun, discretion, oral, even willingness to experiment. Smiley face." Holy crap, you just told a bunch of dudes that have no interest in you whatsoever, and no women are reading that. It's really pretty outrageous. So,
I want to get the numbers about the male to female ratio, and I also want to find out why apparently 15,000 of the users have email addresses that end in .mil or .gov.
Yeah, I saw that too, and I was not super surprised.
I wasn't surprised about gov. I was surprised about mil.
Actually, I was surprised the vice versa of that, because if you think about it, you're on base. You're potentially, you could be stationed across the country or across the world.
Right.
I'm not allowing it or saying it's okay, but
sure.
It does not really surprise me that there's a lot of demand there. I mean,
right? You are alone. You're You're not. You're sort of in isolation.
But also, I would say, like, wouldn't you just go to a normal dating site or a normal hookup site?
You don't have time, man.
What do you need to go to specifically the one where it's like I'm attached,
cheating. Yeah,
like cheating,
right?
Like, unless you really want women that are like into that cheating aspect.
Strange.
It is.
It's very strange. And also the big question is like, all right, well, why did they not just dump this on the free web and instead the dark web, the deep web? That's a good question.
That is a good question. What I've read is the big part of it is basically not being tracked. It's very hard to track things that are on the deep web, which is essentially like a private web server. It's nothing super fancy or like Black Mirror-esque.
Anyone can access it. It's just not that accessible.
If you have like a bunch of friends and a server, you have a deep web server. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Sure.
But yeah, it's very hard to track. IP addresses are not like readily available. So
plus, I think it's a potentially more lucrative situation if you are the people behind the hack.
Sure. You
could probably sell that.
But they didn't. They just gave it away for free.
They gave everything away for free.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
The data. Yeah. It was just a big data dump. They're not in it for the money. It's just like Crash Overdrive.
They just want information to be free.
Right. Free the information. Hack the planet.
Interesting. Well, there you have it. A lot of nutty stuff going on with security and whatnot. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, it's time we discussed the controversy hitting the internet this week when it comes to joke stealing and social media. major topic of discussion this week on the internet. We'll have our take on it when we come back. Stick around.
You know, Jeff, I'm not really the most web-friendly guy in the sense that, like, I don't know the bells, the whistles, how to make that, like, in construction spinning GIF on the web. I don't know any of that stuff.
You are essentially illiterate.
Essentially, yeah.
Is what it boils down
I mean, there's
to.
no need to say essentially, but yes.
You are an illiterate HTML, completely clueless person when it comes to web design.
Yes.
Are you not?
Yes.
I was like you at one point in my life as well. And now all of my HTML knowledge that I've amassed over the first 10 years of my life online, well, it doesn't do me any good anymore because you can get a great professional looking website using a service like Squarespace. Is correct. We all know this because building a website is a huge pain in the ass. It's tough. And even if you're like me and you know your way around it, you can never get it just right. And who has time for finessing and refining? I don't.
Not me.
Okay? Squarespace makes it easy to build beautiful websites without having to break a sweat. It provides simple, powerful, and beautiful websites that look professionally designed regardless of how well you know your way around HTML and coding. Not only does Squarespace provide you with intuitive and easy-to-use tools to create your website with, they also have state-of-the-art technology powering your site, ensuring security and stability, which don't overlook that. Just because it's not facing forward on the internet doesn't mean it's not important. Hello, other websites and security problems, big issue these days. Squarespace has that on lockdown. And you can trust Squarespace for your website needs when millions of people and some of the most respected brands in the world trust them as well. You're obviously going to sign up with Squarespace. When you do, use offer code CNET to get 10% off your first purchase. And at the very same time, you're supporting the 404 show. How about that? Head over to squarespace.com, use CNET, get the discount, and do it up. Squarespace, build it beautiful. Hey, welcome back to the 404 show, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we got to talk about this. This is a major deal this week online. Mm-hmm. There has been a tremendous backlash against Instagram personalities, web personalities like the Fat Jew.
Yes.
Which every time I say that,
really?
It's just like, nah.
I had never, correct me if I'm wrong, I had never heard of this guy until literally this controversy happened.
I knew all about it.
Okay, so you were looped in.
Yeah. And there's another personality, F Jerry, F-U-C, that letter,
sure.
Jerry.
Okay.
Who does a very similar thing.
And what it looked like, as I did a little more research, I went to his Instagram page, and it really just looked like he was just doing screen grabs of memes.
That's what he does.
And not funny memes either. It was
right.
just like lame, like middle of the road, broad comedy.
And I don't think that's where like the majority of the, the majority of the criticism comes from.
Okay.
It's the really nasty stuff is the fact that he, in many various situations, had been lifting/stealing comedians' jokes, mm-hmm. not only republishing them, but doing so without any type of credit whatsoever.
Sure.
So that's a huge issue, especially because this is a guy who has built a social media empire.
Yeah.
To the likes of which he's able to sell sponsored Instagram posts. He was able to parlay this entire internet fandom and celebrityism into CAA representation.
Big deal.
Get a pilot in the works with Comedy Central that's since been canceled because of the fallout.
Yep.
It's a big deal. And it really just, completely throws the entire sort of like sharing and social media sort of etiquette for a loop. I mean,
sure.
like it's what does it say about our world? I mean, you hear a joke 20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
You heard a joke. You just heard that joke.
Sure.
And I'm sure this isn't the same thing, but you heard that joke and you'd be like, oh, you would just tell it and it spreads through word of mouth.
Sure.
And you would be like, hey,
right.
check this joke out.
That'd be like taking credit for when's the best time to go to the dentist?
When?
2:30.
2:30.
Yeah.
What? Tooth? Tooth hurty.
Yeah, there you go, Jeff. Took you a few minutes. So that would
I
be
just
like
hate you so much more. You hear that? You hear that? That is all the people in the future turning this podcast on.
But I didn't take credit for writing that joke.
Well, so here's the thing, right? Like, it didn't matter 20 years ago giving
Right.
credit because you are not amassing a gigantic following, which you will then use to
Sure.
perpetuate.
Unless you were
agenda,
obviously an onstage comedian and you were stealing someone's jokes.
which has always been a problem since the dawn of time.
Yes, sure.
It's much easier to get called out now, though,
Yeah.
because everyone's stuff is everywhere.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. And look, like, I get it. I understand doing this. Like, I've done similar stuff in the past on like an Instagram thing where it was like, I saw this photo, I thought it was really funny, I published it on my Instagram.
Jeffrey, no.
Didn't know where it came from.
Jeffrey,
I've done it.
what have you done?
I'm sure you've done something similar
Nope,
before.
never.
You freaking
I'm
liar.
pure as the driven snow.
I'm sure you are. Look, fine. Yeah. Have I done something like that? Yeah, maybe. I've done it in
Sure.
the past, but I'm also not I'm not selling away my Instagram
Right.
account.
Well, and here's the big thing, and it's kind of a shame. Granted, he lost his pilot, but
Well, that's not a shame.
I mean, no, that's not the shame part. The shame part is that his social media impact will remain the same, unchanged, because essentially the vast majority of the people that follow him have no idea this controversy, has no idea he's lifting jokes. They see it on Facebook, that's funny, like, subscribe, etc. So that will maintain. The question is, will we start to see new systems put in place where people can actually submit copyright requests on things like jokes, in the same way that like people submit to YouTube, saying, "Hey, this is my content." And I think
Something has to happen.
Twitter actually started talking and saying that is something that you can now do.
Copyright?
If let me look it up. But if you see that there's someone using your content, there are mechanisms that you can pull to say, hey, this is my content. Like,
Right.
they've stolen this, whether it's a joke, whether it's whatever.
But then, like, that's going to trigger a whole litany of, like, vetting and, like,
Right.
someone's got to get to the bottom. Like, you could say that.
It was really more of a PR move than anything.
I think the only way to really... The only way is that there isn't a way. Unless you have this, like, sort of like key coded, everyone's got their own encryption sort of thing.
I mean, it's really just going to come down to like, you're going to hit the top level of like how famous you can be. And you're never going to be able to go above that, because the second you reach this upper echelon of like, hey, I have a TV show, or hey, I have 50 million followers, people, the noise is going to get louder and louder, and, skeletons come out.
So you're saying there's a glass ceiling where
There is
it's
a
like
glass ceiling.
you will hit a point where you will be found out and called a fraud.
Right. Lean forward.
And essentially that will be when you get this Hollywood blackballing, which kind of feels like this guy's getting right now.
Yes. I definitely don't think he's going to get a show anytime soon.
So do you think he'll get dropped from CAA?
Potentially. I mean, if anything, if I was his agent, I wouldn't be putting him up for a lot of stuff necessarily.
If I was his agent, I'd be like, Mr. Fat Jew, I'm going to go ahead and say you lay low for like 6 months.
Right. And even then, like, they might put him in touch with people that can like set up sponsored tweets and Instagrams, whatever he wants to do. And I'm sure they make a lot of money doing that, but they'll never like get him on TV.
Do you think there's any
Not
talent?
that matters anymore.
Do you think there's any talent? He's also been criticized because he's never done a lick of stand-up in his life either. Now, that's fine. You don't have to be a stand-up veteran to be a comedian.
Sure.
But you sure as shit have to write your own stuff.
Yes, you do.
And he's been criticized for that. He doesn't even, like, even the little couple character lines he adds as commentary to the stuff he's stolen is not very good.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you think there's any wisdom or beneficial, byproduct from this guy? Or is he just an aggregating hack?
I think it's beneficial that he exists and there was such a blowback on it. I think that's good, because I think there are people that like don't really realize that A, this stuff happens, and B, this stuff is wrong. Like, it's wrong to steal jokes. It's wrong to steal other people's content without giving them credit. So it's good that he got this big smack on the wrist. Granted, that doesn't take away his 6 million followers on Instagram, but it does at least engender this feeling of like, don't be a dick to people.
So he's got all these followers on Instagram, and they're not going to go away anytime soon because the people who do follow him, they are there not because they are in love with the personality. Maybe there is, he has used his internet fame to craft and sculpt this sort of persona.
Yeah.
Like, I know what this guy's all about. I get it.
Yeah.
But I don't think any of those people would hesitate in a second to all of a sudden just abandon this guy if they're getting the same kind of content from someone else somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like the service that he provides, the void that he fills, this constant bombardment of this specific kind of content, nowhere else can you get that.
Sure.
So people are going to seek that shit out from somewhere else.
Yes.
Even if it's fat Jewish, if it's skinny Christian, whatever it is, they're going to get that. And they don't care where they're getting it from.
And most of them probably don't even know they follow this guy. They probably just saw a funny photo and subscribed.
It's intense, man.
Yeah, it's effed up. So screw that guy. Don't follow him. Unsubscribe. And, the world will be a better place.
I think it's amazing that, either way, what's going to happen is like, this will go down perhaps as like the breaking point for like, oh, now, the internet has become a bastion of creativity and original copyrighted works. And even a joke that you say, that becomes you and that becomes yours. And do you think there's like a renaissance of like ownership headed towards the internet?
Well, it is easier to track down ownership, like the original person that said a given thing. But, it's a question of like, are people going to care to do that legwork? I think as the internet gets bigger and there's more and more celebrities on the internet, it's going to be harder for people to just track a lot of that stuff because there's so much noise. So, and the way like sites like Facebook work, like you're just seeing an image or you're seeing a video, like you're not really thinking, oh, how can I, who originally made this? Tyrese Gibson actually got in a lot of hot water because his Facebook page, whoever was running his Facebook page as a way to get likes, was like reposting funny YouTube videos, but using their player and just to get likes. So long as the systems, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, allow these things to exist without repercussion, these people are going to succeed in various ways. So I think it just needs to be dealt with at the core of it.
Let me take it in a little bit of a different direction. Do you think, and I don't know how this is set up, I bet I could find out, but do you think like something like Tosh?
Okay.
Like, what do you make of that? Because now
like
look,
he's commenting on the videos. He's
commenting on the videos.
Or even, Talk Soup, Joel McHale.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, now there's got to be something in place. Talk Soup's been on for 15 years.
Sure.
Something is okay where like they either license that stuff or they're able to get away with it because they are a parody.
Yes. No. So the way legally they get away with it,
parody,
and Tosh is the same way. It's actually not quite parody. It's editorial content. So your that's actually why they're able to use all those clips without getting permission, is because for every single clip, he has a dumb joke attached to it. He's referencing it directly and he has a dumb joke. People are like, I don't even need the jokes. I would just watch the clips. They need the jokes legally to exist on television because otherwise they would need to pay these places or get the rights directly.
So,
right now we could play Michael Jackson's "Beat It"
as long as we have
an intricate conversation about what he wants to beat.
I wonder, and specifically only that.
Yes.
I wonder how it breaks down when it comes to like, just to play devil's advocate, could the fat Jew say something similar because he's doing some kind of editorialization in the comments after he posts something?
Potentially, but it doesn't, make the, if the core of the content, I know what you're saying, is it's a packaging thing.
Right.
And what feels gross and what doesn't feel gross. Mm-hmm. In the case of like Tosh, I think there's a little bit of a borderline question there because these people aren't getting like YouTube rights or YouTube attention. In the case of the Soup, I think there's a lot less of an issue because it's free advertising for the shows that he's talking about.
Right.
But here, like the people that he's stealing from do not have any benefit whatsoever. There's really none. So, he's a jerk. I don't like him.
It's a crazy story, and it's only going to get uglier because a lot of these guys are going to start hitting it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move along just a little bit. This is freaking out of control.
Crazy.
I guess this just sort of resurfaced, this report from 1947.
Yeah, it got declassified. So this is a report from San Diego, California, July 8th, 1947. And essentially, it's an official FBI report about UFOs. Pretty interesting.
So it's an actual dossier.
It's a dossier. So an FBI agent essentially was asked to go speak to this boy who witnessed a UFO after there was an article written about like his sighting. His name was Billy Turrentine, a Norfolk schoolboy. And he was interviewed by a special agent where Billy essentially talked about how he was sitting. Here's his portrayal of it. He was sitting on his front porch of his apartment. He observed a large black object moving rapidly through space, proceeding from the southwest to northwest direction. He said the black object was followed by two smaller objects, which also proceeded in the very same direction. And it just goes on and on. Speed of an airplane. Billy was unable to state what the black objects represented, but admitted that they could have been very large balloons. But there's no question like...
But if they're moving at the speed of an airplane...
Right, probably not. And it's kind of amazing because the guy who actually filed this report writes this letter, and he says that the letter will probably be ignored because it's all about flying discs and stuff like that, but that he actually believed what was going on. The letter is called Flying Discs, Security Matter -X, and there's a bunch of redacted stuff.
There's a lot of redacted stuff.
It's just kind of amazing because you don't really think of this stuff being like super well documented. Obviously, there's all the conspiracy theories and stuff like that, but this is like an official document. It's on vault.fbi.gov/UFO.
What's crazy, I think the biggest glaring thing is like, holy shit, there's so much redacted stuff. There's a lot of black marks in this dossier. I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist guy. I just think like it's very strange. You know what it is? It plays like a really good backstory to a sci-fi movie. Is what this facilitates.
Yeah, there's a really good intro to the memo. It starts, this memorandum is respectfully addressed to certain scientists of distinction and important aeronautical and military authorities, to a number of public blah, blah, blah. The writer has very little expectation of that anything of import will be accomplished by this gesture. The mere feat that the data herein was attained by a so-called supernatural means is probably sufficient to ensure its disregard by nearly all persons addressed. But he says it's a very serious situation, that we have all these flying saucers and no one's really dealing with them. They seem to have vanished since then, now that they're all phones and stuff like that, so NBD. But it is kind of amazing that there is this just official documentation that's now out there in the government archives, Indiana Jones style.
Right.
Being pushed down a large hallway.
It's cool. It's over 75 years ago. It's definitely, I think what's happened is like stuff like this takes on this, urban legendy sort of like supernatural myth thing. And we see this and we're like, oh man, there's evidence. It's there. And then some M. Night Shyamalan movie comes out.
Yeah.
Is what's going to happen.
You're probably right.
Right? And that's how it all shakes out.
Flying disc bigger than automobile, photographed by youth who was amazed that no one else saw it.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean...
Richard Nixon was that youth.
Right? It's crazy because the testimony, and there's like people have written stuff about this since, the testimony is like a little too genuine. Where like... Yeah. It's a
people
little
really
kid.
are into it.
It's a little kid. I don't know.
At a certain point, if you're under that swinging light in the FBI office and it's like they crank up the heat, you'll probably just be like, okay, I was shitting with you guys.
Yeah. But no, there's something just a tiny bit too disturbing about this whole thing.
Yeah.
Before we hit the next break, my goodness gracious. We were going to talk about this last week when Steve Guttenberg was on the show, and I'm like, man, in retrospect, this is totally up his alley.
Yeah, he would have liked it.
Nevertheless, Nat Geo has some...
Wait, I got to start this first because it's a segment. You ready?
Yeah.
What? Weird animal facts. Hey!
Did you practice that in the mirror before you came in?
I really practiced that.
Well, you shouldn't have.
Oh.
I'm kidding. That was great. You can download that as an MP3 for 99 cents. Just head on over to cnet.com/the404.
So the title of this article on Nat Geo is World's Loudest Animals - Bug with Singing Penis.
That's right, ladies
more.
and gentlemen. There is a bug out there that has a penis making a lot of noise.
Singing penis. So you might know that crickets and cicadas make their little common noises by rubbing their legs together.
Right, like with the violin effect?
Yeah, not everybody is so blessed with long legs or long arms. If you think of a T-Rex, he might have difficulty clapping, for example.
Like, what were those arms for? Like, what could that guy do?
Yeah, man.
There's nothing he could do.
Because you feel like if he were to bend over to use them, he would just tip over and that would be the end of him.
I just don't. I'm not saying they're needed.
Maybe they were like on their way to being useful, like an evolutionary thing. Yeah, they were like, yeah, this could be useful.
So you think like another like 50 million years, and those would have been like these jacked like claws?
I think that's what the new dinosaur looks like in Jurassic Park. It's just a T-Rex with big arms.
Where a T-Rex with big arms,
pretty scary
and hilarious,
at the same time.
But it's just so stupid. Like, what else could that do besides like knit something really close to your chest?
That does seem like a very good segment for another time. Like, we'll have to do some research.
Like, just what the hell were those arms for? I feel like you could almost win an arm wrestling contest with a T-Rex.
Well, no, I feel like there's a lot of power within that range.
Those talons.
Yeah, once your hand is in that talon, I don't think it's going on.
Is that
anywhere.
a talon?
Yeah,
claw, or is that just a bird thing?
It's like a hand with long nails on it. Is that a talon?
It's just like whenever I picture a T-Rex in my mind, I have this cartoony like fumbling.
Is he riding a dinosaur?
No,
a skateboard?
Where he's just like so useless with those arms that he's just making that like tickling your own chest like.
Yeah, that's really all you can do. It's just like maybe, and you can't even get to the center of your chest. You can just nipple area would be the only.
That's it.
Yeah.
He can't even scratch his other claw.
No, it's like they've never met. It's like trying to touch your own elbow.
Could never cross his own hands.
With, same elbow.
Wait,
okay.
So what about T-Rex penis or, bug penis?
Bug penis.
Right.
So this is a bug. It is Micronecta sclerosi.
That's the scientific name.
Yeah, he sort of looks like a beetle-y thing. And instead of, making a lot of noise, he's roughly the size of a grain of rice.
Okay.
And instead of making noise rubbing his legs together, he's got this penis, and he rubs it against his belly, and that's what sings. That's what
my kind of guy.
And I guess the penis is probably a little bit smaller than the size of a grain of rice, but it's okay. He's making it work for himself. He's finding a way.
He's making it work with what he's got.
Yeah. So good for him. That's the story of the singing penis.
Sound-producing genitalia are relatively rare within the animal kingdom, but animals have evolved hundreds of other ways to boost their hoots, howls, and snaps. Thanks, Nat Geo.
What? Weird animal facts.
Hey! All right, no more singing dicks on this show, besides Russ and myself. We'll be back, one more break, and we'll finish it up right here on the 404 show. Stay tuned. Okay, this one's for all of the web app developers out there. Are you developing a mobile app? Do you have no idea how to accept payments in any way, shape, or form? That, my friend, is where Braintree comes into play. All right, if you are a developer, you need to check out Braintree because it is the payment solution used by companies like Uber, Airbnb, Hotel Tonight, Living Social, and Munchery. Braintree has made the payment experiences in these apps seamless, and now Braintree is here for you, adding that experience to your own app. With excellent customer service and simple integration, Braintree gets you ready to receive payments quickly, and Braintree's continuous support means you'll be prepared as your company grows from your first dollar to your 1 billionth dollar.
Why stop there?
100 trillionth dollar. Braintree is helping solve the problems of mobile cart abandonment. Can't have that.
Nope.
Can't have all these abandoned carts floating around the internet.
Driving around the parking lot.
Driving, just bumping into digital cars and whatnot. Braintree gives you a full stack payment solution. You can support all kinds of payment types, including PayPal, Apple Pay, Bitcoin, Venmo, credit cards, and much more. And you get $50,000 in transactions, fee-free to start. Go to this website if you are looking to accept payments in your mobile app. BraintreePayments.com/CNET. Hey, welcome back to the show. Just so you know that up until this very moment, that was my penis talking.
You know, I knew it was coming a little lower than I'm normally used to hearing it. But yeah, no, it was lovely.
He sounds just like me.
Very versatile.
All right, we've got a couple things left to hit before we say goodbye for the week. Tell me about, I'm not even going to try and pronounce this. Say it. Wait, let me try.
Okay.
So this is a little context here. This is a new game.
This is a new game.
New game that
appeared on Product Hunt.
That's on Product Hunt
a few days ago.
Okay.
producthunt.com/games if you want to check it out.
It's spelled ENNUIGI in UAG?
Okay. Not right.
You're
but...
like, no, it's Bob.
So are you familiar with Ennui?
Ennui, yeah.
Yeah.
Ennuigi.
Ennuigi is how it's pronounced. So it's actually a game that stars an ultra depressed Luigi, and all he does is walk around the Mushroom Kingdom smoking a cigarette and having like depressed thoughts about his family and friends.
Oh my god.
Ennui is where that comes from.
Yeah.
So and there are two buttons. One is up. Well, you can walk left and right, but one is up to have a depressing thought, and one is down to take a drag of your cigarette. It's pretty awesome.
So he just like looks up longingly at the flag.
Yeah.
And he's just like,
He'll just be like,
damn it.
"What? My goddamn brother! I can't live up to him."
He is a poor bastard.
Yeah, he's had a rough go at things.
Is he not the Donnie Wahlberg of video games?
Yeah, and he doesn't even have a reality show. He's had some spin-offs though. He's had like his Haunted Mansion.
Great game.
Yeah, people seem to like the
vacuum cleaner game he had.
The vacuum that was Haunted
They
Mansion.
give him a freaking vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, he doesn't even.
They're like,
get
here
like
you
a
go,
boss.
Luigi. Why don't you mess around on the 3DS where no one will ever pay attention to you?
And all his powers in like Smash Brothers are like very like,
Second
ineffectual.
rate. Second rate.
There's a lot of flailing going on.
Poor Luigi.
He turns into a board for some reason.
Right.
Because planking is still a big thing for him. He's on the pulse, Luigi. And so this is sort of like a little homage.
So it's a browser game.
It's a browser game, yeah.
And likely going to get taken down by Nintendo?
We'll see if they have the time. I feel like a lot of this stuff might, it is parody.
It is parody. It flies under the radar a lot of times, too. I'm sure
they're not making money off of it.
Right.
It's just, a silly Flash game. But it made me smile.
They're not unaware.
They are not unaware. I agree with you.
Finally, before we say goodbye, and again, we're sorry we didn't have time for Reddit last week. We kind of don't have anything to share with you this week, only because we did an early show.
Yeah.
So we find ourselves in this great paradox.
Not really.
I can bring up a few things before we hit the last thing, which is more like just a discussionary sort of thing. I want to thank, who wrote this? I want to thank Bulu Jenkins for writing about the montages that we talked about a week ago when we were talking about montages in Rocky.
I also want to call out Tubed in UK, who said that you sounded like a little child when you said you don't like boxing movies.
Where did he say that?
He said you sounded like a real dick.
Thanks a lot.
In the comments.
I guess so. Now I'm reading. Thanks a lot, Tubed in UK.
Oh, man, mercy. I like that.
You do like that.
Yeah.
I want to... Oh, and then someone else brought this up. I mean, we definitely talked about it. Somnodoc wrote in and said, just catching up. I want to let you know that it's the reason why the cartoon Ghostbusters was called The Real Ghostbusters, because back in the day there was another show which apparently was involved in a lot of litigation. I knew about this other show.
Yeah.
It was called Ghostbusters.
Right.
It was about like two guys who maybe resembled Egon and Ray, maybe whoever.
And there's like a weird
monkey.
ghost.
You know,
The monkey. There was the monkey. Right.
With a hat.
Yeah.
Very reminiscent of like Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
And they busted ghosts as well. And then apparently they needed to change the name of the real life Ghostbusters, of the other Ghostbusters, to the Real Ghostbusters. I don't know. I'm not sure it was a legal
65 episodes of that original Ghostbusters.
That blows my mind.
Crazy.
Can't believe there were that many.
Yeah.
Neloy wrote in and said wanted to know what the closing song of our show is. You can't Shazam it because that is a licensed song that we were able to get through our CBS archive thing. So we can't even like give it to you because it's this thing we don't own, but we license for the show. So
Wah, wah.
that's a bummer of an answer to your seemingly innocent question. I want to thank Web Chris for posting an unbelievable video series that explains the Fermi paradox in a way I could never.
Yeah. It's not even close.
Not even close. It's made by someone called Kurt Scott. I don't know. I can't pronounce it.
Kurt Cameron.
Seems it's German. I just can't do it. But this creative person does an unbelievable job explaining complicated ideas like the Fermi paradox. I'll link to that. I also put that on Twitter this morning. Big thanks to Web Chris for linking us there. What else? I think that's it for the subreddit stuff. Head over to reddit.com/r/the404 and let us know all the things you want to know. Comment, questions, whatever it is, post it there. Finally, to finish the show, why is it dancers?
Can I introduce this segment too?
Sure.
Explain me like I'm 5. Explain it like I'm 5.
Were you the guy who did all those you don't know Jack bumper?
Yeah, I did all of
things?
those.
It's time for 5.
I just feel like, it's a regular segment at this point. We've done 2 of them.
Yeah.
So it needs a little theme song.
You're not wrong. Why is it dancers start off, they go 5, 6, 7, 8
right,
instead of doing 1, 2, 3, 4.
Or
now
4, 3, 2, 1.
Fine,
countdown.
Sure. I will also say this though.
Mm-hmm.
A guy on stage, a band.
Yeah.
Like a Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right. Right.
So why does a dancer go in 5, 6, 7, 8?
So
wait, I want to guess.
Okay, guess.
It's got to do something with the syllables. Maybe
syllables of what? It's a dance
of the numbers.
It's a
because you're counting in a time signature.
Okay, so you're saying 5, 6, 7, 8 has more syllables than 1, 2, 3, 4 because you're a dummy.
No, because it's a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a.
You just added A's between the words.
Wait, hold on.
Keep trying. This is pathetic.
Now my butthole's talking instead of my penis. Let's see. God, there's got to be a logical. Is there a logical explanation?
Yes, there is. Very logical. It will be obvious to you once I say it.
Maybe because I got it.
Okay.
It has to do with reading lips.
Whose lips are you reading?
The choreographer.
The choreographer who's not.
For the record, I'm not cheating. You're not cheating. Screen.
So you're saying you're reading the choreographer is reading.
Dancers need to be able to read the choreographer's lips.
Okay. and by saying 5, 6, 7, 8,
which through lip reading look different enough to make those out.
Okay.
Where 1, 2, 3, 4 look all alike.
Okay. So by them saying that, what does the choreographer then do with that information?
I don't know. It sounds like a thing. Am I right or wrong?
You're way off.
Shit. All right. What else?
You want to try one more?
Yeah, I'll try
give you one more.
One more. It's because 1, 2, 3, 4 is used by someone else in the production, and they didn't want to mess with 5, 6, 7, 8. They didn't want to mess with 1, 2, 3, 4 because someone else is using it. That's my answer.
Okay, that's your answer. Jeff, let's keep in mind that you had somewhat of a musical background growing up and traveled around with musical bands, so you would think you would have some sense of musical anything.
No, but this is dancing.
Yeah, but music.
All
they
right.
probably had some fly girls and stuff like that.
Yeah,
right?
they did. Yeah, totally.
Okay, so this is from Explain Like I'm 5, which is a great Reddit subreddit. I'd recommend checking it out. And this question was posed, and Crab Cake Smoothie had the great answer to this question. Here it is. Dancers often use 8-count bars, measures of music, meaning their moves are broken down into 8 counts.
I did say time signatures.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They will count 5, 6, 7, 8 out loud as a countdown to begin so that everyone begins together on 1. You wouldn't count 1, 2, 3, 4 because you don't want to start on 5. You understand?
So you're saying they do 5, 6, 7, 8. A 1 and 2 and 3
Exactly.
and 4. 1
But they're not saying 1, 2, 3, 4. They've already synced it up. So the 5, 6, 7, 8 gets them all in sync. It's like they're synchronizing their watches so that they all can start on one. Bam.
Right. So when they
5, 6, 7, 8.
Get,
chorus line.
we're doing a show here on Broadway.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
So there you go.
5, 6, 7, 8, and in their heads they're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever the time signature.
Right. That's pretty much it.
I like my lip reading answer better.
Yeah. It's terrible, but we'll go with that.
If you have a better answer, I dare you.
Yeah.
I dare you to come up with a better answer. Hit us up, ladies and gentlemen, the 404 at CNET.com. We also have a phone number.
Yeah, what's the deal with the phone? Is it still broken?
No, it works, but the problem is that, the problem is that a lot of these voicemails aren't really what.
Oh, well, maybe we should give them direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
You have an idea for that?
Yeah, I do. Ready?
Yeah.
Give us your best Michael Caine impression.
All right.
And we'll play it on the air, and we'll compare it to the real Michael Caine, who will be there during that show.
Right.
Right.
A guarantee.
Yeah, a guarantee that next week, I'm sorry, not next week, the week after next, Michael Caine will be there to listen to your voicemails of impressions of Michael Caine. But you're not allowed to use that clip from The Trip where those two guys do the Michael Caine impression.
Exactly. Okay, there you go. You have your homework. Get to it. A little bit of house cleaning next week. We are off, but we will be running a classic show.
Have you, what was the, like, you don't normally go this far back in time when you run these reruns, right?
Now, this is far back, and I don't want to tell people exactly. Do we want to tell people what it is?
I think we should probably tell them.
Okay, so this is going to be the first time Russ was on the show.
Yes.
Episode
like 89.
89.
Somewhere around there.
So we're going to do that for you guys.
This is back in 2007
Holy
or 2008.
moly. I didn't think it was that far.
Jeff wasn't even hosting back then.
It's going to be 08.
He was co-hosting like a pleb.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably like 08.
All right, so I haven't heard this in a very long time.
Me neither. I haven't heard it since we did it.
So yeah, tune in next week, and that'll be available a week from today on Friday, and then we're back after that, which I think is like September 4th or something like that. Okay. Whatever that Friday is.
Yeah, whatever that Friday is.
That's when we're back. Thank you so much for listening. Again, help us out, spread the love, review us on iTunes, subscribe, do what you got to do, get the word out. We appreciate that. And we will be back before you know it. Until next time, I'm Jeff Bacalard.
I'm Russ Frushtick.
This has been the 404 Show, High Tech, Low Brow. Have yourself a fantastic weekend and following week. We'll see you next time.